So let's try to search something. Hello. We're not getting any data. We have some error. Oh, I passed 41 here. Okay. I put 4 over here. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, now try picture. Great, I've got some data available. So you can see that user has typed a picture like so many times. He's typed so many letters, but there's only one request that's gone because it's canceling previous request before making a new one, and that's very performant, to be very honest, if you ask me. Okay, because we don't want to be making so many requests and flooding their server by creating so many requests. Great. So inside of data, so we have so many information available over here. We have status, we have requests, we have config. We are not interested in all of that. All we are interested in is just the data. So inside of data we have hits, and we can see that we've got all of that information available. And this looks pretty similar to what we actually got over here. If we minimize this, you have total, you have hits, you have total hits, all of that information, right? So that means that instead of printing out res, we just print res.data. And let's see what we get. Say pick, and now you can see we've got total hits, hits, total hits, all of that information, right? And that's what we are interested in. Great. So what we're going to do is we'll first create an error message, which we were doing earlier, since we've got the data. Okay, so we'll say if not res.data.hits.length. And why we are saying that is because if you check, hits is actually an array, which means if this doesn't have any item inside of it, which means we haven't got the data, right? So res.data.hits.length, that's an array. Okay, so we're going to say that and then do a question mark. We can put that in the next line and say there are no more search results. Please try a new search. Okay, which means that we've got the query response, but there are no data available inside of this hits. Okay, which means it's done. Or we'll just keep it empty. So that's one. Now, since we've got the data inside of the res.data, we need to set state with all of that information. So we'll say this dot set state. As we already know, we've got that function available. We'll take an object, which will be state object. We'll put results, because that's what we have over here, results, and we'll say results will be equal to res.data.hits, because we want this array, we are interested in this data. Okay, dot hits. Next up is message, and message will be equal to this result not found message. And then we also need to set loading to false, because if you've got the response, it's reached, then that means that request is complete and we can set the loading to false. Later on we will use this loading to show a loader. Okay, so let this be here for now and we will use it in some time. Let's just focus on getting the data first. Okay, awesome. Now if we check our React developer tool, look for a search component, click on it, and observe what happens over here. If I type pick, so you can see this is the query. Okay, let me make it this big, like that. Okay, you can see that when the user typed, we've got the results with all of the information. That's what we are interested in, right? Great, awesome. Now next up, we need to create a method that would allow us to loop through each item, because it's an array. So we need to loop through each item and display that to the user just beneath this, so the user can see it. Okay, so we'll do that by creating a method, and we will name that method as render search results. It will be an arrow function, and inside of this, the first thing we're going to do is pull result out of the state. So remember, we have results inside of state, and when we get the data, we are actually inserting all of the information inside of results. So we're going to use that. So we'll pull results out of the state, so this dot state, which will contain all of the information that we are inserting using set state when we get the results. Okay, and then we will first check if we've actually got the data or not. So this is an object, results is an object, so we're going to use a method called object.keys dot, and then we'll put the object results over here and then not length. This is going to check if it's not empty. Okay, and we'll also say results dot length. Okay, so which means if it's got the data, then of course it should be an array. Yeah. So first we'll check this is not empty, because initially we are setting that to an object. When we actually insert the data over here, remember hits is actually an array, so that's why we are checking if it's got length or not, which means if it's got any item or not, only then show anything to the user, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Okay, and then we're just going to return this from this function. We'll create a div and we'll give it a class name of results container, and inside of this we'll map through, we'll use the array map function, so we'll say results dot map, and it's gonna give me item, so I'll just name it result. You can name it what you want, and then I'm just going to return from this function. I'm going to use a link, a tag, and remember you have to give it a key. So key would be result dot ID, because key needs to be unique whenever you are looping through any array, and if you are going to return these elements, each element should have a unique key, and we know that it has an ID which is unique. And how do we know that? You see over here we have hits.id, and hits will be equal to result here, so result.id will be equivalent to hits.id, so we'll store that information. Then we will need an href as well, so that if a user clicks on that, it can go to that URL. So how do we get that? So we have result, which is basically hits dot preview URL, which would be here. Okay, so we'll say result dot preview URL. Okay, brilliant. Let's make it more readable, and then we'll give it a class name also. So let's give it a class name, and we'll give it result item. And then over here we can give it a heading, say h6 tag, and we give it a class name of image. So what we want to display in this h6 is basically the username. Okay, so we have a user available, user property available, so we'll say image user name, and inside of this I can just display this username, which will be different for each of them. You can see this is different, so I can say result dot user name. Okay, great. Then we need an image container where we'll display all the images. We already have the preview URL available to display the image, so let's make an image container which will is this, and we will give it a class name of image wrapper. Okay, and then make an image. Source would be result dot preview URL. Okay, and let's give it an alt of result dot username. Okay, and of course you can give you can add image over here also. if you want. Let's make it use backtick and then say image. Okay, right, so you got the image, and let's give it a class name also. So I'll give it a class name so we can style it, and class name would be image for now. Okay, now all I have to do is basically just use this method, just call this method inside of our render function. I don't want to make our render functions too dirty by making it too long. That's why I just went ahead and simplified things by just putting that inside of the function. So we can say results over here, result, and we need to call this function this dot render search result. Now if I check pick, sure enough, awesome guys, you can see we are actually getting all of the information over here. Okay, great, but it doesn't look that great right now because we need to style it. So let's quickly style it. Okay, in fact, before we style it, let's just go ahead and create our loader. Okay, so I already have got that loader. You can just download it or you can use your own, it's up to you. So there is a loader, where is it? Source loader. Okay, I can download it from here. Save as loader. I already have that loader inside of my picture, so I can use that. I'm gonna go to my pictures, get the loader. Yeah, this one, loader.gif. Some people call it GIF, some people call it GIF. I call it GIF. Okay, so put that loader there. Okay, so all I have to do now is just put it there. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll pull loading out of our state. So remember, we have initialized loading and set to false, and when the user types something, so when the user searches something in the input, he goes ahead and types something over here, then we are calling this handle on input change, and this method is setting the loading to true initially. So initially the loading will be true, and then when we are fetching the results, we are setting the loading to false, or if we get any errors, loading is again set to false. So we have that data available inside of state, so we're just going to pull that out from the state over here. Okay, and we're going to use that. We also need to import our loader, so we can just import it on top. We can say loader from, and I think it's outside one directory, so it's loader.gif. Okay, so now we can say where do we show it? I think we should show it beneath the label. We'll put that as loader, and yeah, and we'll first check. Okay, we'll use the image. Okay, and we'll set its source to loader, and we use the class name for styling it, and we'll use backtick over here because we need to make it dynamic. Okay, and first we'll name it as search loading so we can style it, and then we want to show or hide it, so we will display a class dynamically. So we'll first check if loading is true, then show. So we'll add a show class. If it's not, then show add a hide class. Okay, so initially this loading will be false, so the hide class will be applied, which clearly means that this image won't be shown. Okay, and what is it complaining? Alt attribute. Okay, I'll put an alt attribute for accessibility and say loader image, or is it GIF? I'll just say loader. Okay, that's fine. Great. now we've got that, and we also need to put some message for the user in case if there's any error. So where do we put the message? Again, we put the message just beneath this label. So we'll say error message, and we'll also need to pull out the message out of the state, because remember initially we set the message value to nothing, to an empty string when we initialize the state, and later on when this function is called we are first setting the value to empty. If there was any message before that, it is going to get cleared, and then when we do a query, okay, and if there are any messages, like if there are no results available further, or if there is any error, we want to set the value of message to this. So again, we're going to check if the message is not empty before actually displaying anything. So since we pulled out the message out of the state, we can check message. So this would mean that it's the value on the right hand side will be evaluating to true if the message has any values. Okay, so you can just use and over here because we don't want to go into an else condition. So if this is true, then whatever is on the right hand side of and will be displayed. So let's put that in a p tag, and let's give it a class name of message, and inside of this I'll just put the message. Let's put some space to make it more readable. Okay, great, awesome. Now let's do some styling also for this, but before that you can see that loader is being shown. Now why is it being shown? Why is it not being shown when we actually type something? Is because currently loading is true and it's showing as show. We haven't really styled it or make it display none, so we need to style it. So let's style it quickly. The first thing I'm going to style is basically the result container which we've already created. Result container, and let's give it display of flex flow to wrap. Let's see how that looks. Yep, it's wrapping now. Okay, great. Next thing we're going to style is, let's see, result item, which is the a tag. So let's style that. Let's give it a position relative, padding, let's give it 16 pixels, border 1 pixel, solid, and let's give 89, 89, 89, margin 16 pixels, give it a text align center, and let's give it a minimum width of 200 pixels so it looks even, because the pictures weren't really looking even earlier. So now you can see it looks better. Okay, let's make it more beautiful. Okay, let's give it a box shadow of 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 2 pixel, and then again 89, 89, 89. Let's see how that looks. Okay, better, looks much better. Okay, why I'm giving position relative is so that I can put the text, which is basically the username, somewhere here rather than displaying it at the bottom. Okay. Okay, so we've styled our items. Let's style username. Okay, so username, let's give it a color. I like coral color, so I'm gonna give that. Okay, and then give it a font size of 18 pixels. Let's say that's good enough. Position absolute, because I want to show the text somewhere here, and I need to give position relative to the container for that, and then absolute this one. Okay, so basically this will be position absolute in relation to the parent, which is the result item. Okay, great. Position absolute, and bottom to 0. Let's make right 0, margin 0, background, let's give it a background color of RGB 0, 0, 0, and let's give it an opacity of 0.8. What am I missing? Mismatch parameter. Okay, I think I missed A over here. Yeah, that's the problem. Great, so we've got that out of the way. Now padding 5 pixels, 10 pixels, div, okay, we've got that somewhere here. It's pretty small, right? Okay. Let's give it the image. So we have let's see, we have image. Let's style our image. Width 100%, height 200 pixels. Okay, and then we also have an image wrapper route here, so it's right here. So we're going to go ahead and style our image wrapper as well, and give it a display flex, align item center, box sizing, border box height 100%, justify content center, and put that here. Let's see how that is looking for now. Okay, that's fine. I think for some reason this is showing pretty small. Let's make it big. I think we are not receiving the username over there. That's the reason. You can see this is empty actually. So let's fix that quickly. It's not username, it's user. Now check. Brilliant, awesome. You can see it's working now. Great. Okay, you got that. Now let's also style our loader. So where is our loader? So name is search loading. We'll style our loader. Okay, and we'll say position absolute because I want to keep it in the center, and left 0, right 0, margin auto. So if you want to give a positioned element, if you want to actually position a positioned element in the center, you should make left 0, right 0, and margin auto. It will be positioned in the center from left and right. Okay, great. Now next up, you can see that it's in the center now. Okay, of course it's still showing. We need to hide it. So if you do an inspect element and look for loading, where is loading? Where is loading? Here as a loader. Okay, it says it. You can see the hide class is applied, but it's not hidden because we have not styled our hide. So we need to style our hide class and show class as well. So let's say show and hide, and let's say show class would be display inline block, and hide is going to be display none. Let's try it. Awesome, now you can see it's gone. So when the user is typing anything, you can see the hide class is there, and then if he types, you can see that it's toggling between show and hide, right? Awesome. And you can see there are message also, there are no more results available. Okay, so if you now go ahead and type this, Okay, there is one thing, if you notice, is that if I'm doing a backspace, like if I do pick over here, it's showing. Okay, I click back again, back again, it's still showing the result. The reason for this is because we are not checking if the query is empty or not. Okay, and if you go and check the URL over here, if you don't pass any query, you make the query empty, it is still going to show the results, right? So we don't want that. We don't want to show any results if there is nothing in the query. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll check a condition over here. We'll say if not query, if there's nothing inside of the query, then do something, otherwise do this. So in that case, we're still going to go ahead and do a set state, but we'll set the query to query, of course, but we're going to go ahead and set the result to nothing, an empty object, and of course message will also be empty object, sorry, empty. Let's try that. Now if I do pick, go back, now you can see it's gone. Brilliant, awesome. Okay, so you can see now our search is working. Awesome, that's great. We've got all of that. Okay, what we don't have is a navigation, because we have got so many results available. If you do an inspect element, or not even inspect, you can check. We have so many results for any particular query, but we don't have any pagination, so all it's showing is just result of 20 items. Okay, so in this video you learned about how to create a real-time live search using React. In the next video you're going to learn about how to do pagination. So I hope you did like the video, guys, and if you did, please give a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. You can help me that way so that I can make more video, invest more time, and you can also share in the comment box what kind of videos you like, because it's all about solving problems, and this is something that I received from one of my clients, that I had to make that, so I thought of sharing that with you as to how to build it. Okay, so if you have any questions, leave it in the comment box. I will leave the description of the blog that I've written, as well as the Git repository link in the description box. You can check that. You can ask any questions if you want, and in the next video we'll discuss about pagination, so that user goes on the next and previous page and navigates through different results. Okay guys, thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.